$75,000 last year, having lived in California for most of the year, live here now, are not claimed as a dependent, and filed 2020 taxes before October 15th, 2021. $600 for people who qualify. If you file jointly, your combined income would need to be less than $75,000, plus another $500 if you have dependents. Does a dependent just mean a child, or are there adult dependents factored in?
Yeah, there are others who can qualify, and it gets a little technical.
Everybody, millions of people may be able to claim the stimulus checks right now, and it's worth around $1,500 per person. You definitely want to continue watching this video because we get into the most important stimulus check information that everybody has to know. So, here's what you need to know, everybody, around the fourth stimulus check. So this includes those of you that are on SSI, Ssdi, or even low income. The lawmakers have announced that a fourth check is going to go out to eligible people. You have to be sure to qualify for this in order to receive the money. Now, the deadline to file a federal tax return with the IRS is actually the middle of this month. And so this is important because if you don't file taxes, you cannot receive the stimulus check that's being sent out in December. Over 9 million Americans are still eligible to claim this unclaimed stimulus fund. The 2021 Recovery Rebate Credit, the Child Tax Credit, the Earned Income Credit, and other credits have all been filed on your income tax return. However, if you missed the filing deadline, you will not receive the money. There was no penalty for refunds after the initial April 22 deadline. But if you were one of the various tax benefits and filed your 2021 federal income tax return before the November 15 deadline, and still haven't received the check, well, the IRS may be still processing a return for you. Individuals whose income is below $12,000 and couples whose combined income is below $25,000 are eligible for the Recovery Rebate Credit, which covers any missing money from 2021 that may have been missed, and the Child Tax Credit as well. Families can claim the missing stimulus money on the Child Tax Credit even if they received half of the monthly payments of 2021. So this law for the Child Tax Credit is for people that are childless workers, and there were also changes to can help the low and moderate income families with children. The credit can be as much as $1,500, everybody, for workers with no qualifying children at all. Many New Yorkers are also waiting for an economic relief check from the State Department of Taxation and Finance. The state began mailing the relief payments, averaging approximately $270 per resident. And around October 13th, most residents would have had their checks by October 31st. So the acting commissioner of this said that we're delivering these relief checks to hardworking people in New York who've been feeling the pinch of inflation. The average payment is about $270 for each recipient, which will help address rising costs associated with crisis and inflation. Officials have also noted that some people may receive their checks and stimulus money this October and next year as well. If you did receive payments in October, well, know this: the State Department of Taxation and Finance are working on this. In fact, for instance, the payments evolved from a 2021 plan for a larger stimulus checks up to $2,000. It goes out to essential workers who stayed on the job, and sponsors of this bill have said that more targeted payments would be burdensome and required workers to apply for it. Now, payments could have been delayed for months or even years as a result. Supporters of the bill have said that directing the money to low-income families would help ease the sting of rapid hikes in expenses like rent and gas and even groceries. And now the payments and plus administrative costs are expected to amount to nearly $150 million. But know this, according to officials, there may soon be relief for victims whose SNAP benefits were stolen. So far, SNAP is helping many people out. And now, in the state of New York, residents enrolled in the SNAP program will receive the maximum allowable level of food benefits for November and a supplemental allotment. According to the press release from the governor, the Supplemental Emergency Assistance Program helps people with SNAP. And the governor in Hawaii also signed a fifth emergency proclamation extending supplemental.
It says some $563 million in relief checks will be mailed by December 17th. The checks total anywhere from $600 to $1,100. Another 3,000 payments will be direct deposits. This money comes from federal and state pandemic aid to help struggling California residents who earned less than $75,000 in 2020.
We have a ton of information about the fourth stimulus check, Social Security benefits, SSI, and Ssdi. There's a ton of information about this, and here's what you need to know right now. In March, the lawmakers approved the American Rescue Plan. This helped so many people across the United States. So a massive spending bill, it was designed to provide retail to and relief during the crisis. Now that bill allowed for a third round of checks worth up to $1,400 apiece, and it also boosted the child tax credit in a huge way. Prior to this, a maximum value of $2,000 per child, and only a portion of that was refundable. The child tax credit was already partially refundable before 2021, but last year it just became more refundable. Plus, half of the child tax credit was paid in monthly installments. So lawmakers are now hoping to keep this part of the stimulus checks, in place for next year as well, so they can continue the monthly payments into 2024. And given the way that inflation has surged this year, it would be a great thing for cash-strapped families who are facing difficulties with maxed-out credit cards. But unfortunately, the enhanced version of this credit didn't go as approved. However, lawmakers are still pushing for the bill to be passed. The enhanced child tax credit has helped many families shore up their finances. It also led to a notable decrease in food insufficiency and child poverty rates. Once the boosted credit went away, the bulk of that progress was reversed. That's something that lawmakers have noticed. It's why so many people are still fighting back to get some sort of boosted version of the child tax credit. It may not look exactly the same as the boost as it was in 2021, but it's still something better than nothing. And according to the latest report from the Bureau of Labor Statistics, a key measure of inflation, wholesale prices rose by 10% in October from a year before. While still historically high, it was the smallest increase since July. It is the second inflation report this month to show signs of cooling, and the rising prices that have plagued the economy. Economists expect that the producer price index will measure price paid for goods and services properly before they reach consumers, and that's to show an annual increase of 8.3%, down from September's revised 8.4%. And on a monthly basis, producers rose 0.2% below expectations, and even with the revised 0.2% increase in September, it's not helping too many people. Last week, the CPI index showed inflation slowed to 7.7% to 8.2% year over year. Now, the Fed vice chair says that this was reassuring, and it signals that the rate hikes appear to be taking a hold. And so, now with the crisis coming still around the United States, millions of people are dealing with this consequence. For 7 months, stimulus checks were mailed and deposited, and the crisis is inflation and nothing else besides inflation. The U.S. federal government approved these payments, and they served as a lifeline for millions of people to get. So, the good news is that many states are joining in on this and helping so many people with these crisis inflation relief checks is what we want to call it. The governor of New York, for instance, said that this relief package is making good on our commitment to help hardworking New Yorkers through a nationwide affordability crisis. And the program put money back in the pockets of nearly 2 million New York families that are struggling to make ends meet. So it's good to hear that some people are dealing with the crisis properly. Over 1 million low-income New Yorkers have received tax relief, and even some people are getting $270 inflation relief checks. If you're eligible, you don't have to do anything. Checks will be mailed to you, and you'll probably get it in the mailbox or even in your bank. Not only that, folks, but listen to this. According to CNN, white